Hello and thanks for tuning in. My name is Brad Micklin. I'm the attorney and managing member of the Micklin Law Group, which is a law firm concentrated in men's and fathers' rights in divorce, custody, and family law matters, with offices in Nutley, Montclair, New Jersey. I'm also the proud author of the best-selling book, How to Survive and Thrive When Divorcing a Narcissist. If you or anyone you know may be dealing with these issues, you can find this book on Amazon.com in both a Kindle and a paperback version. Today is Wednesday, September 16, 2020. This is the second part of the program I posted on how to use email tactically in divorce and family law litigation. The first video was posted about a week or so before this one, and you can find it on my YouTube page, my Facebook, both personal and professional, as well as my Twitter and my LinkedIn. So if you don't belong, feel free to subscribe or send me a request so you can join those pages and get this and any of my future updates. So the first thing I want to be clear about is these tips are not about playing games, doing anything inappropriate or unlawful or even unethical. They're really just tips that I've come across either through advising various clients, or even some of them are tips that I've kind of incorporated into my own practice for different reasons that I thought if you use them in the context of family law and divorce litigation would actually be really helpful. So I decided to compile them all together, put them together in this video, both the last one and this one, so that you can get a general sense of how to use these both in litigation, but also possibly in your personal life. Okay, so I'm going to go through several different tips. And again, as I tried to introduce both earlier in this video as well as my first video, this is just about how to use it tactically, how to time certain messages and document it so you have proof if you find yourself in court. So the first thing I always urge clients to do is create an entirely new email account. There's tons of free ones online. Most commonly is Gmail. I think it's good to have a new email account, first of all, so that nobody that may have had access to your last one or your passwords can get access to this one. It also puts everything that you're going to use in litigation into one place, separate and apart from all the other messages that you may receive. It makes sorting and finding things in the future much easier. I also want to point out here, as I go through the rest of my tips, I'm going to be mentioning certain apps or programs I use. I'm not affiliated to any of them. I'm not sponsored by any of them. They're just things that I use that I find to be helpful, and I think they're going to help my clients also, and hopefully you. All right, so the first thing you want to do is set up certain rules for your email account. Now, I use Outlook primarily, and there's a way to configure rules on Outlook, so I don't know exactly how Gmail or Yahoo has this configured, but I'm sure they can. And what you're doing is you're setting up rules so that certain messages get handled in a certain way. First, and this is a little more complicated too, but the first thing I recommend is that you take a rule, you create a rule that forwards certain emails to your cell phone text messaging app. Now, the way this is done in Outlook is you contact your cell phone carrier and you find out what is the email address that goes to your text message application. Like Verizon has a verizon.zx.com address or something like that. So when you program the rule, any email under that rule will be forwarded to that email address, but it actually comes up as a text message. Now, I suggest the text message because more commonly we get more notifications. We check text a little more easily and more often than emails, and you can set different reminders. Now, when it comes to rules, first of all, I'd recommend if your emails are important for prompt responses, that you program a rule to the text message for certain senders, like if it's your spouse or your partner or your ex-spouse. If it's important that you respond to them timely, then set a rule forwarding. If you have a counselor or a therapist or an expert that you need to promptly respond to, set a rule to get your text message to that person. Any person or any time, it's important for a prompt response. Forward to your text. You may also want to forward, instead of just having individual or certain messages, you can create rules that forward to the text any specific words that are used. So if it comes with a subject that says holiday parenting time or medical emergency or whatever it may be, you should also have a rule that sends those to your text messages so that you get a prompt notice and you can respond promptly and accurately. So the next piece of software that I recommend you consider is called Sperry software. This is an add-in that you can download it. Again, it's to Outlook. I may have said this before because I'm doing this in different clips. If the tips that I'm suggesting don't work in your email carrier, you might want to consider getting an Outlook app and using that for your email that I recommended you set up. But getting back to Sperry software, that allows you to automatically send a carbon copy or a blind carbon copy of your messages to a different email address. So this is helpful first if you're using an online backup like I suggested before about Evernote or Dropbox. You can forward the emails automatically there so that you have a separate way to access them. You can put your attorney on there, you can put your counselor, anybody that you want to get a carbon copy of the message. It also allows you to set it up, I believe, to be automatic or to be a choice. So you don't have to send every copy to your attorney, but it could be programmed to send certain ones to your attorney, for instance, so you're not being charged for all the emails. But I think the software is really good because it allows you to automatically have a backup or automatically get somebody to see copies of all your messages. Another app I use and I recommend to my clients is called Boomerang. This has a lot of different functions, but as far as litigation goes, it allows you first, when you send a message, to schedule a certain time to be reminded of it. So if you want to send a message to your spouse and you're expecting a response in 48 hours, you can set a reminder to get told by the program that 48 hours have passed, you didn't get a response, or the email will pop back up in your mailbox just to remind you of it. You can also schedule to send messages at a certain time. So let's say you had a schedule, or you have to notify the other parent of vacation plan 60 days in advance, and you have the plan set, but you don't want to mention it now because there's going to be backlash or problems or whatever it may be. You can schedule the email now with all the information that you need to send, but schedule to be sent in 59 days or 59 days before the notice is required, so that you know it will be sent out at the exact time properly. And again, if you have it configured with Sperry software or something else, you'll have a carbon copy and you'll know exactly when it was sent. Another app that I use, it's similar to Boomerang, but it's called SaneBox, and this may not have as many tactical uses as like Boomerang does, and it also has a lot of the similar ones. Like SaneBox will allow you to set the reminder and to schedule times to be set in the future also. Now what SaneBox does that Boomerang doesn't do is it allows you to configure certain internal inboxes inside of your email system so that messages will be automatically sorted for you. This will be helpful first if you don't take my tip about getting a separate email address. You can program SaneBox that all the messages from a certain person or with a certain message go into another box. The way that SaneBox differs from setting up the rules that I suggested is SaneBox will also learn the nature of your messages, and you can train it so that future messages will automatically be diverted in a way you don't have to create a dozen different rules for it. The program will partly do it by its own intuition, partly do it by your programming. So it's got a little more functionality than Boomerang does. I'm not sure if it costs more or not, but it's probably a better alternative if you're using these tips in conjunction with another to use SaneBox over Boomerang. But check them both out to see which one fits you better. Like I said, they got similar services to them. Again, I'm not sponsored by any of these people. I don't get any kind of affiliation link to them. They're good software programs. I use some of them for my own practice. Hopefully these tips will help you not just in your divorce and family law practice, but maybe they'll give you some tips how to be a little more productive with email because we're also inundated with it. With that, I hope you like this video, and if you do, please give a like and share it. If you would like to subscribe, you'll get notices when I go online, and that way you can also message me with any content you want to see or comments that you have. Thank you, be safe, and I look forward to seeing everybody again on my future tips. Feel free to contact me with any questions.